Chapter 2 Project. From Blackboard, click on Coursework and Videos, click on Unit 2, scroll down, Chapter 2 Project, open that folder, and we have a directions file and a rubric file. And I gave you the directions file as a Word document. So you will want to use Microsoft Office. If you don't have it on your computer, you can copy this link, go to a new tab, go to this website. All ENMU students have access to this Microsoft Office Online, the Office 365. So if you click another account, here you will put your ENMU email address. And as soon as you push tab, it's going to ask, do you want your school account or your personal? And I would say, I want the school account. And then it'll take me to Eastern sign-in page. And this is where you're going to do your SD, I'll do AD, /, and then my username, just like I would for signing into the portal. And push enter. It should bring me to this page, and you can install all of these, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., just by clicking on Install Now. And it'll install those for you. You can uncheck those if you don't want them. This will let you get Microsoft Office onto your computer. And like I said, you need that to be able to use the templates that I've given you for this project. So you would do the install now and go ahead and install that. You'll be ready to use this file. So you just want to click on it to get it to download, and then you can open it up. And it's asking whether I want to edit it or not, because it is a doc file instead of a PDF, but this one is from me and it has been scanned for viruses, so it should be fine for you. Enable editing, and then this is giving you that link to get to the online site, and it's telling you that you're going to have to use not the online Word, but the Word that's on your desktop, because it won't, the online version doesn't have enough capabilities to use the pictures that I put in, so you'll have to do it with the one on a desktop. So the idea of this project is to sort of replicate the study that I did, asking the students in this class what languages they speak. And I asked whether you spoke English, Spanish, or German, because I speak enough English and German to carry on a conversation. And so I wanted to ask something that was relating to me, and then I added in Spanish because I speak some Spanish, but I'm not good enough to carry on a complete conversation, I would say. So those all three meant something to me, so that's why I used that survey. And you should find something in your life that means something to you. Think about groups that you're a part of or categories that you can relate to, because this is supposed to be something that's interesting for you to see what other people think about things that you like to do. So those were my three characteristics, and I came up with what languages do you speak. So for this, number one, once you decide on your characteristics that you want to use, then you can select this that I wrote the where I wrote the instructions, and just type in, I decided, and somehow I lost my number on that, so I'll put that back on. You can leave the numbers on your report. I'm completely fine with that. So I wrote up, I decided to ask people about what languages they could speak well enough to carry on a conversation. I talked to 30 people and gave them the options of Spanish, German, and English. And here where I put the note, you should just change that to your name. And if you double click up here, you can get rid of that header. You could leave the Math 113. That's always nice to know what class it was for. And so now I have Math 113. I could even take those, Control C to copy, come to the end, and Control V to paste. And I have some crazy line stuff going on, so I'm going to do the paragraph spacing and remove space after paragraph so that my heading compresses nicely. And then I'll just take off the heading here. You have to double click to go back and forth between the header and the body. So there's my header and there's my body. All right, so I have number 1 done. I have a nice header, and then I need to survey 30 people, so I need to go out and talk to 30 people and record their information. You can use this table to show your information in your report, or you can make a nice table on paper and use CamScanner or some other app to take a picture of it and then embed it into your report. So you can just come here and select the words to change them. And you should definitely also change the categories to match what you were asking people. Maybe you asked if they like horror movies or if they like comedies or if they like documentaries. We'll just make up some categories. I've had students ask about movies like this. I've had them ask about what video games they like, if that's something that you're interested in. I've had them ask about what foods they like, what brands of clothing they're wearing or wear, that sort of thing. So anything that you are interested in, make it into 3 options and then ask people and you can get input. So if you want to take this check mark and put it somewhere else, you can just select it by pushing and holding your mouse as you swipe over it, and then do Control-C to copy and go where you need it to go and click there, and then do Control-V to paste. So that'll help you make a table. When you're in the last cell of the table, if you hit Tab, it'll give you a new row and you can add information for the next person because you'll need to do that for 30 people. Then you need to tally up your results and you'll want to make a Venn diagram. I recommend you do a tally on a sheet of paper and then come here just to put the numbers in. So however many people you ended up with, 35, you can come here and change this label to likes horror, and you can see it sort of disappeared. That's because it needed to wrap and I didn't have enough space. So you can move things around and resize them by using these little tabs on the edges. And it looks like I never finished the R on there, like horror. And then wherever I put those hashtags or pound signs, depending on your age, what you would call them, that's just a position to mark that's where you can enter a number. So say I had 4 people who liked only horror but not the other 2 types of movies, that's where I would put their number. And so you can go around and change all of these. And like I said, if you need to resize because you have something that's bigger, you can resize by these little white boxes. And if you click on the edge, you can move the whole label around so that it fits better into its space. So there you can make a really pretty Venn diagram. And again, I am okay with you making a Venn diagram by hand on paper and use something to help you make a nice circle and make sure it's really clean and that I can read all your numbers. And then again, snap a picture of it with CamScanner or another app, and then you can load it in, embed it into your document. When you go to analyze your survey, you can go ahead and use these templates. They're already in the equation editor, so they're really handy. And you can just type in how many people were in the A set, and you can rename your sets to match. For example, I might call this likes horror movies. I might call that set H, just because H reminds me of horror, and then I wouldn't have to figure out what the letter was that I decided to use for that. So there I can move that a little bit. And maybe down here then I would change this A to be an H, and I would report how many people said that they liked horror movies all together. So that's, remember, everybody in that circle. So maybe it was, I'm making up numbers here. They should match your actual data. So maybe 25 people said they like horror movies all together. And that, again, would be all the people in the horror circle. Okay, and then you can go through this, make sure you adjust. If you change the letter that belongs to each of the sets, make sure you adjust it in these equations, and then you can just click on it and put a space and then put your number that wouldn't be 45, maybe 4. So you would put the number that matches for your set, for your survey information. And so then you can use all of those as your templates, so you don't have to figure out how to get the intersection and the union symbols. And there's 11 of these. When you're writing up your interpretation for each result that you got in step 4, remember here I am talking about percent of people, so you will want to do that as well. I said I found that 100% speak English. And for our horror example here, where we made up the number 25 people liking the horror films, that was out of a made up 35 people. And so we would want to divide that out. So 25 out of 35, or 25 divided by 35, and I get 0.71. Change that into a percent by multiplying by 100, and I get 71%. So what I would say here to interpret part A would be 71% of the people said they liked horror films. And then you'll do that for each of these cardinal numbers that you found for step 4. Make sure you put a heading on your report. I showed you how to do that. Start your report with a short description of the survey, and I did model that as well. Up here, I decided to ask. That's long enough. Just make sure it makes sense and that it explains what you did. And then include your work or typed reasoning for each of the numbers 1 through 5, and end your report with a summary. And so we need to say, I found a lot of people wanted to watch documentaries more than I thought there would be. Something like that, something you noticed about your results.